Welcome back to Beyond the Pages, fellow bookworms.
It's great to be back.
It's fantastic to have you back for our 4th episode, and a huge shout out to all our new subscribers. Thrilled to have you join our little book club. Today, we're cracking open a classic.
A classic.
The Art of War. I know, a military treatise might not sound like the most exciting read,
Right?
but trust me, this ancient text, it's bursting with wisdom that applies to so much more than just battlefield strategies. We're talking about insights into human nature, strategic thinking, and achieving success in any aspect of life.
What's incredible about The Art of War is its enduring relevance. Written centuries ago by the Chinese general and strategist Sun Tzu, it wasn't translated into English until 1910 by Lionel Giles.
Wow.
Yet its principles, they continue to resonate across cultures and time periods.
Exactly. And while we could spend ages dissecting every single detail, for this episode, we thought we'd share 3 of our favorite takeaways, things that really struck a chord with us, and hopefully will with you too, ready to get strategic. All right, so my first takeaway is Sun Tzu's sheer emphasis on deception. He writes, and I quote, "All warfare is based on deception." I mean, talk about mind games.
Oh, yeah.
He even goes on to say, "Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable." It's like he's saying, never show your hand. Always keep your opponent guessing.
It's fascinating how this principle goes beyond the battlefield. Think about it. We encounter elements of deception in our daily lives all the time, whether it's a negotiation, a friendly poker game, or even just trying to surprise someone with a birthday party. The ability to create a certain perception can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much of our interactions are based on this kind of subtle manipulation of perception. What do you think? Have you ever used this art of deception, so to speak, to get what you wanted?
Well, let me put it this way. I've never lost a game of poker. But jokes aside, Sun Tzu's point is that we should always be considering how we present ourselves, how we control the information we reveal, and how we can use that to shape the situation to our advantage.
Okay, so on to my second takeaway. This one's a bit more personal. Sun Tzu lists 5 dangerous faults of a general. And honestly, they're so relatable. Even for someone like me who's never even held a water gun, let alone commanded an army. He says a general shouldn't be reckless, cowardly, have a hasty temper, be too focused on their honor, or be overly concerned for their men. It's almost like a personality assessment.
It's fascinating, isn't it? He's basically saying that these seemingly individual flaws, they translate into strategic weaknesses. For instance, a reckless general might rush into battle without considering the consequences, leading to unnecessary losses. Or a general who's overly concerned for his men might hesitate to make tough decisions, ultimately compromising the entire mission. It's about finding that balance between compassion and strategic thinking.
Absolutely. It's like Sun Tzu saying, hey, we all have weaknesses, but knowing them is the first step to overcoming them. It's a powerful reminder that self-awareness is key, not just for leaders, but for everyone. So putting yourself in Sun Tzu's shoes, which of these 5 faults do you think you'd be most prone to?
That's a tough one. Perhaps being overly concerned for those under my responsibility, I can get a bit too invested in their well-being sometimes, which might make it difficult to make those tough, impartial decisions. What about you?
Honestly, I think my biggest downfall would be a hasty temper. I can be a bit impulsive sometimes, and that could lead to making rash decisions.
I see your point. It's all about recognizing those tendencies and consciously working to mitigate them.
Agreed. Okay, ready for my final takeaway?
I'm ready.
This one completely blew my mind. Sun Tzu identifies 5 types of spies: local spies, inward spies, converted spies, doomed spies, and surviving spies. It's like something out of a spy thriller.
Wow.
Each type has a specific role, from gathering information to spreading disinformation.
It highlights the crucial importance the ancient Chinese placed on intelligence gathering. Sun Tzu understood that knowledge is power, especially in a conflict. He believed that having eyes and ears everywhere, even within the enemy's ranks, was paramount to victory.
Imagine the level of strategy and planning that went into managing a network of spies like that. He goes into detail about how each type of spy operates. For instance, local spies blend into the local population. Inward spies are officials who are working for you from within the enemy's ranks. Converted spies are, get this, enemy spies who have been turned to work for you. Doomed spies are intentionally sent to spread false information. And surviving spies are the ones who bring back information from the enemy's camp. It's incredible, right?
It certainly makes you wonder how much of this kind of intricate espionage still goes on today. While we may not have doomed spies in the literal sense, disinformation campaigns and propaganda echo the same principles. It makes you think in our digital age. With information flowing so freely, Is true secrecy even attainable?
It's a question that has no easy answer. And I think it's something that Sun Tzu would have found fascinating to ponder. It seems the battle for information has evolved, but the core principles of strategy and deception remain remarkably similar.
Indeed. The battlefield might have shifted, but the human element remains constant. Our desire for knowledge, our susceptibility to manipulation, our capacity for both deception and truth-seeking. These are all timeless themes that the art of war addresses, with remarkable clarity.
And that's what makes it so relevant, even centuries later.
It's been fascinating to explore your perspective on those key takeaways.
I'm eager to hear your insights. What makes the art of war so compelling is how it transcends the battlefield. It's not just about military strategy, it's a guide for anyone who wants to navigate life with more awareness and intention.
Precisely. Take Sun Tzu's emphasis on deception, for instance. He wasn't advocating for outright dishonesty, but rather recognizing the power of perception in any interaction, whether it's a business negotiation or a personal relationship. How we present ourselves and the information we choose to reveal or withhold can significantly influence the outcome.
Almost like a game of chess, isn't it? Each move you make is designed to influence your opponent's perception and ultimately lead you closer to victory.
Exactly. It's about being strategic and understanding the psychology at play. Sun Tzu famously said, "When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away." Think about that in a modern context. Let's say you're in a negotiation. By strategically downplaying your interest, you might make the other party more eager to concede, giving you the upper hand. It's fascinating how these ancient principles still hold true today.
And what about those 5 dangerous faults of a general? I was struck by how relatable they are, even for someone like me who's never led an army. It's a reminder that we all have our weaknesses, but by acknowledging them, we can prevent them from becoming our downfall.
Absolutely. Sun Tzu's brilliance lies in figuring these flaws as strategic liabilities. For example, he warns against recklessness, stating that it leads to destruction. He vividly illustrates this with the example of a general so eager to attack a city that he launches a poorly planned assault, leading to heavy losses and potentially even losing the entire battle. It's a cautionary tale about the importance of patience and calculated action.
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most strategic move is to wait for the right opportunity, rather than rushing into action. And what about cowardice? The opposite of recklessness.
Sun Tzu warns that cowardice leads to capture. Imagine a general so terrified of defeat that he refuses to engage in battle even when he has a clear advantage. He might miss a crucial opportunity, allowing the enemy to regroup and gain strength. His fear could ultimately become a self-fulfilling prophecy, leading to his downfall. It's about finding that balance between boldness and caution, knowing when to take calculated risks and when to hold back.
It's fascinating how these ancient principles apply to everyday decisions. Have you ever been in a situation where you had to make a difficult choice? Weighing the risks and potential consequences, how did you navigate that?
There was a time when I was leading a team on a particularly challenging project. We were facing a tight deadline and unexpected obstacles kept popping up. There was a moment where I felt the pressure to make a rash decision, to get things back on track. But I remembered Sun Tzu's warning against recklessness instead of rushing. I took a step back, carefully assessed the situation, and consulted with my team. We ended up finding a more strategic solution. That not only addressed the immediate problem, but also put us in a stronger position long term.
That's a great example of how these principles can be applied in real-life situations. It's not just about winning battles, it's about making sound decisions in any area of life. And what about the other faults? How do they play out in a modern context?
Well, a hasty temper, as you mentioned earlier, can cloud judgment and make us vulnerable to manipulation. Think about how easily we can react emotionally in heated arguments or negotiations. Sun Tzu understood that maintaining composure and emotional intelligence is crucial for making rational decisions.
Right, it's about not letting your emotions dictate your actions. And what about being overly concerned with honor?
Sun Tzu warns that an obsession with honor can make us inflexible and unwilling to compromise. While honor and integrity are important, clinging too rigidly to them can blind us to alternative solutions, or prevent us from making necessary concessions. In negotiations, for example, being too focused on winning or proving a point can actually sabotage your chances of reaching a mutually beneficial agreement.
It's about choosing your battles wisely and knowing when to adapt your approach. And finally, the fault of being overly concerned for your men.
As I mentioned earlier, this can lead to hesitation and an inability to make tough decisions. While empathy and compassion are crucial for effective leadership, sometimes we have to make choices that might not be popular. but are ultimately in the best interest of the larger goal. It's a delicate balance.
It seems like Sun Tzu is emphasizing the importance of self-awareness. Knowing your tendencies, both strengths and weaknesses, is essential for making sound decisions. And that leads us to perhaps the most important principle in the art of war, knowing yourself and the enemy.
Absolutely. Sun Tzu famously said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." It's about understanding both your own capabilities and the challenges you face, whether it's a competitor in the business world, a personal obstacle, or even your own internal struggle.
So it's not just about knowing your own strengths and weaknesses, it's also about understanding the landscape, the playing field,
Yeah,
and the other players involved.
precisely. It's like a game of chess. You need to know the strengths and weaknesses of your pieces, but you also need to anticipate your opponent's moves and plan your strategy accordingly. In the business world, for instance, this means conducting thorough market research, understanding your competitor strategies, and identifying potential threats and opportunities. In personal relationships, it might involve taking the time to truly understand your partner's perspective, needs, and communication style.
And this is where those 5 types of spies come into play, right? It's about gathering intelligence, understanding the enemy's movements, and using that knowledge to your advantage.
Exactly. While we might not be employing literal spies in our daily lives, we can still apply the principles of intelligence gathering. This might involve networking, conducting research, or even simply paying attention to the subtle cues in a conversation. It's about being observant, curious, and always seeking to expand your knowledge base.
It's like being a detective in your own life, always searching for clues and piecing together the puzzle. And speaking of puzzles, I love the analogy Sun Tzu uses to describe a skilled general. He compares him to water, saying, "Water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing." It's such a beautiful and insightful image.
It speaks to the importance of adaptability. Just as water flows around obstacles, finding the path of least resistance, we too should be able to adjust our approach based on the circumstances. Rigidity and inflexibility can be major obstacles to success. Sun Tzu understood that victory often depends on being able to improvise, change direction, and exploit unforeseen opportunities.
So it's not about having a rigid plan, but rather a flexible mindset, the ability to adjust your sails as the wind changes.
Precisely. And that's a crucial skill in any area of life, wouldn't you say? Think about how often our carefully laid plans get disrupted, how often we encounter unexpected challenges. The ability to adapt and think on our feet can be the difference between success and failure.
Absolutely. And sometimes those unexpected challenges can lead to amazing opportunities if we're open to them. It's about embracing uncertainty and seeing it as a chance for growth.
That's the spirit. And that's what makes the art of war so timeless. It's not just about winning battles, it's about navigating the complexities of life with wisdom, strategy, and a deep understanding of human nature. It's about being adaptable, resourceful, and always seeking knowledge. It's about knowing yourself, understanding your opponent, and playing the game with both skill and integrity.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring some of the key principles from the art of war.
We have.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to recap our 3 favorite takeaways. First, we delved into Sun Tzu's emphasis on deception, not as a tool for dishonesty, but rather as a way to strategically shape perception and influence outcomes.
Right. It's about recognizing that every interaction, every negotiation, every conflict involves a psychological dimension. And by understanding that, we can use it to our advantage.
Exactly. Then we explored those 5 dangerous faults of a general, which, as we discussed, are incredibly relevant to all of us, even those of us who aren't leading armies into battle.
It's true. These faults, recklessness, cowardice, a hasty temper, an obsession with honor, and being overly concerned for one's men, highlight the importance of self-awareness and the need to find balance in our decision-making. They remind us that our personal tendencies can have significant strategic consequences.
And finally, we discussed the fascinating world of spies and intelligence gathering, which underscores the value of knowledge and information. In any competitive situation, it's about recognizing that knowing your enemy, whether it's a competitor, a challenge, or even your own internal struggles, is crucial for success.
Absolutely. It's about being proactive, resourceful, and constantly seeking to expand our understanding of the landscape we're navigating.
I think what resonated most with me throughout this exploration is that the art of war is so much more than a military manual. It's a profound exploration of human nature strategy, and the timeless principles of success in any area of life.
It is. It's a guide to navigating the complexities of human interaction, whether we're in the boardroom, in our personal relationships, or even within ourselves. And its wisdom continues to be relevant, centuries after it was written.
Absolutely. So for our listeners who are intrigued by this ancient wisdom and want to dive deeper, we have a special offer for you. You can get a free audiobook of The Art of War by clicking the Amazon Audible link in the show notes below. It's a great way to experience this classic text in a whole new way. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on future episodes. We're exploring all sorts of fascinating books and ideas, from ancient philosophy to modern self-help. So there's something for everyone. And as always, we love hearing from you, so leave a comment below and let us know what you thought of this episode, what resonated with you, what strategies are you going to apply to your own life. And if you know a friend who might benefit from the strategic lessons of Sun Tzu, be sure to share this episode with them.
Remember, as Sun Tzu wisely said, every battle is won before it's ever fought. So go out there and conquer your goals, armed with the wisdom of the ancients.
Happy reading, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.